Today on Marital Monkey Mania. Legendary Christian rock vocalist Les Carlsen from Bloodgood joins us with his wife Joyce to talk about their marriage. Next up on
Marital Monkey Mania.
This is John, aka the Blind Fury.
And this is Tanya, aka wife of the Blind Fury.
And we are your hosts for Marital Monkey Mania.
He's a master certified coach.
She's a certified relationship coach.
And he's a master certified relationship coach.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Marital Monkey Mania. Today's show is going to be quite exciting, so we're not even going to do an intro. We're just going to get right to it. So Tanya and I will be right back with this Christian rock legend and his wife. Marital Monkey would like to thank the Invisible Man Ministries. David was mentally and physically abused as a child. He felt no one could see him, so he would yell just to get attention. Then God gave David the gift of writing poetry. It was through this writing that God began to heal David's heart. This poetry can be found in one of David's many books. To see a listing of these books, go to maritalmonkey.com, click on sponsors, and there you will find the information. There, you will also find a link to his podcast, The Invisible Man Ministries, bringing healing through poetry. We are back now with our special guest. We are incredibly excited to have them. The cool thing is, this guy here is a legend in Christian rock, and he always gets to do these interviews, and he always talks about music. Today, we're going a different direction. He's got his lovely wife with him. I would love to welcome the one and only Les and Joyce Carlsen. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Hey. Nice to be here.
It's very excited to have you and talk to you again. And I know from the last time we talked, you guys have a great story about the longevity of marriage, what you started off as to where you are today. And that is the goal of Marital Monkey Mania, to encourage marriages and relationships. And I can't think of anybody I'd rather start this with than Les and Joyce, because they were very open with me when I talked to them about marriage. And as a matter of fact, Joyce has helped me indirectly get some more connections. So with that, why don't you tell everybody how you guys met and leading up to your wedding day?
Okay, you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we met in, actually both of us were actors.
Yes, so we're both people who act or who acted.
Yes.
Are you saying that's because you're married, or is that just how you met?
No, we're saying that we're not acting now. This is
Okay.
We met. We were actors.
You can only keep up an act for so long.
Yeah,
That's right.
40 some years later, 50 actually.
40 some.
It's been 50 years.
Yeah.
So 50 years ago.
47 married and 3 years in sin.
Testing,
prior
doing
to
a
that.
test drive, yeah. That was before Christ.
Before Jesus.
Before Jesus.
Mhm.
But yeah,
So 50 years. Come on.
so we met in
Kalamazoo, Michigan. And we were in the Hair cast, the Broadway musical Hair. Give me a head with hair. Long, beautiful hair. Shining, gleaming. That one, remember?
Yeah.
Aquarius.
Yeah.
We were in that show, and so
we
Go
were
ahead.
yeah, Les was married at the time to his high school sweetheart. They both married very young, had a child. And so when I got to the Hair cast, I think there were only two guys that were not choosing an alternative sexual lifestyle. So there were only two options for me if I was going to find someone that I could snuggle up with. And one of them was married. It was Les, and I didn't like the other one. So
it sounds like the Old Testament we've been reading through.
Yeah.
So anyway, months went by, but just the proximity of being together all the time on the bus and doing the shows, we were very attracted to each other, and then we just ended up, becoming roommates and stayed together for
50 years.
50 years.
That's great.
So when they say that the people in showbiz don't last, that, well, we broke that.
We defied the odds.
Yes,
Yeah. Now
But-
you,
Awesome.
because of Jesus.
yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh no, I'm good. This is your show. I'm just here to help.
But you were going to ask a question.
Well,
Yeah.
so Joyce, you traveled with Les. Now, did I catch you correctly? This is a part I don't think I knew. Before Bloodgood, was there a tour bus and another band?
Yeah, no, it wasn't a band. It was Hair. The American.
Oh, I got you.
musical, right?
Broadway
Yeah.
musical.
Broadway, got
Dusty
you.
Truck Tour in America.
So, like the
Yeah.
end of 70 and 71 and most of 72, or a lot of it, we were in a bus and truck tour. And we were
Gotcha.
on the
Yeah.
bus.
Okay.
Going from city
8
to
shows a
city.
week.
Yeah.
Mm.
And and that's what we did.
And then after that, Les had bought a house earlier with his first marriage, and we moved to Federal Way, Washington, and got into club bands. He got into a band separate from me, and we sort of went.
And you had a band.
And I had a
also.
band, yeah. So we each had a band. I had an all-girl band, and we toured, and we were like apart a lot. So we just put our bands together, and from that point on, we did 10, 12 years of nightclub
12 years. at least.
circuit, yeah.
Wow.
But somewhere in there, the first 3 years of us being together, Les's son Jeff was, for me, when he would say, Joyce, he didn't call me mom yet, took a couple of years. Joyce, I need a note for the teacher because we're doing a field trip and I need somebody to sign it. So I would sign it my maiden name, or wake him up and have him sign it, whatever. And it felt funny. And so we talked about it, and we said, at that time, because we didn't know Jesus and the marriage covenant wasn't sacred to us, so we just, it didn't matter whether we were married or not. So if it didn't matter whether we were married or not, then why don't we just get married?
Mm-hmm. So talk about that, you guys. I love what you said there, because one reason I felt like I was called into the marriage ministry is because I don't think people truly get it. I don't think they understand the seriousness of how God views marriage, of how you treat your spouse. And it just really, it's kind of heartbreaking. And then I come across people who are struggling, and I'm like, my goodness, but what you just said, you didn't understand the sacredness of marriage and the covenant. So tell us how you came to realize exactly the importance of what that covenant truly is.
You know, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Okay.
You.
All right.
You talk.
Don't argue on the show. That would kill the vibe here. And this,
on our 10th, what not to do.
I submit.
On our 10th wedding anniversary, we got baptized, because when we were first married, we didn't know Jesus. We
Mhm.
didn't meet Jesus until 10 years,
10 years into our
our
marriage.
marriage.
wow.
And so we renewed our wedding vows. We got baptized, and then while dripping wet in the baptismal, we renewed our wedding vows.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's when we realized the sacredness of marriage and the eternalness, and
Mhm.
the analogy that Christ had set up with him and the church as his bride.
Gave me chills. Yes.
But up until that point, for 10 years, we hung in there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it was rocky.
Yeah. I think what happens, and people don't figure it out when you're sort of young and inexperienced or whatever, or you don't, especially you don't have God in your life.
Mhm.
Everybody kind of deals from a self position, a selfish view. And in marriage, everybody's kind of vying for their own position. And it doesn't dawn on them that when they get married, they become one.
Mhm.
And if we realize later, after we met Jesus, that by me making her more important than myself, made her love me more, and
Right.
vice versa, she did the same for me.
Yep.
And
Isn't that-
like
yeah.
with Jesus in the middle, man, you're on it now.
Isn't that incredible? And that's honestly, I've said that so many times. People are like, well, I'm not happy and I this, and I'm like, when did this marriage become about you? It's about your spouse. And if you both would interact with each other with that attitude, you could last 50 years, right?
Yeah. Maybe even 75.
Do what?
Right.
Maybe even 75 years.
Right.
That's right.
My grandparents said, I think 71 or 72.
Woo.
So yeah, and Les, I am really glad you said that, because unfortunately that's the world's view of just about everything anymore. What about me? What about me? What about me? And then they take it into marriage, and that's why marriages struggle so much. If you look at anybody talking about struggles in marriage, it's always them. Always like, well, I don't get this and she doesn't do this for me. And like, well, what do you do for her?
Yeah.
You know, how are you responding? Is she being a snot because of you're being a jerk? You just can't admit it.
Right.
You know?
Reaction, action, and reaction.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
You know-
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, you guys keep talking. They hear me every week.
I was just going to say that if people would just wait it out. It's at the first sign of difficulty. It's like divorce is okay. Well, we're getting a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we decided early on, even before Jesus, that Les had one marriage that failed, and we decided that this one wasn't going to. We took divorce off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Divorce is not an option, which
That's right.
means whenever you hit a roadblock, you got to figure out how to work that thing out, because you're in it for the duration.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where that wisdom or that commitment came from without Jesus, but somehow both of us had committed to that. And I have to say that if Jesus hadn't entered the picture, I'm not sure that we would have honored that and gone through. But we did.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, my philosophy is that if you're I say regular, like a non-saved married couple, you can make it. You can have a really good marriage, but there's nothing like it when Christ is in the middle. That's when it reaches its full potential, because then you truly get the idea of the spiritual nature of it. Like you said, the covenant and how serious that is, and the relationship of Christ and his church. And on our Monday night workshops, we're talking right now about Ephesians 5. And I'm about to start teaching about the men and what their role is. And I haven't even gotten into the meat of it yet. And I asked them for their feedback when I gave them a little information. And one guy said, there's a lot on this, isn't there? And I said, yes, sir. And we're not even getting started yet.
Yeah.
So the men, they love to pound their chest with that I'm the head of the house, and they don't have the first clue what that means. It is a huge, huge responsibility. So that's, I don't know, I get off on those tangents because I'm passionate about it. And I love your all story. So rewind a little bit. You guys met in a Broadway play, traveled together. You ended up getting married, but it took you a long time to find Jesus even in the marriage. So tell us that testimony. I've heard it. I want you guys to tell the listening audience your testimonies. Beautiful.
Yeah. You know what? You go for it. We have slightly different. It's kind of like the Gospels. When you read the Gospels,
Mm-hmm.
They're all true.
they're all true, but all the writers kind of have a different perspective.
Right.
That's we tell the same story from completely different. So I'm going to let Les do that.
Okay.
And I might jump in.
Yeah, well, she will jump in. I guarantee it. So, yeah, I mean, after we left here, she moved to Federal Way, Washington with me. And we started working club bands after we each had bands. Then we got into a band together and started working nightclubs. And we did quite well. We were very, very popular. And we were packing the clubs, and we had everything going for us. We made great money. We actually made a living at performing, and we had our little house and everything, and our car, and it was great life, But we were both, we're both selfish because we didn't know how else to be, and so I would pull things my way, and she was more disco, and I was more rock, and it was whatever. It was always a conflict, But we also performed well together, obviously, or we wouldn't have been packing the clubs. Mm-hmm. But our lifestyle was kind of like, there were people were after us. The girls like me, the guy, some of the guys like me too, I suppose. I don't know. And,
Ouch.
same thing with Joyce, and we,
Yep.
we were young and beautiful and charismatic, and there was all this adoration towards us. And
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
yeah, and all that sort of thing was alluring both of us, So there was that kind of tension that went on in there, and so in the midst of all that, we at one point hired this guy in our band. The keyboard player we had left, and so we hired this new guy, and we had never heard of him before. We were in the Seattle scene, and everybody we knew all the musicians, but this guy had never heard of him. But he came and auditioned. He looked great. He sang, he played guitar and keyboards, and his gear was perfect.
And he read music.
He read music. He was extremely, I don't know, intelligent and peaceful, and just so unlike most of the people that we knew at that time. Mm-hmm. And so we hired him in the band, and we'd be performing. And then on the breaks, we'd go and say, hey, Don, you want to go out and smoke some weed on the break? And he'd go, oh, no, thank you. You go ahead, And then we'd have some cocaine, and we'd say, hey, Don, you want to do some cocaine? He'd go, no, that's all right. You guys go. And I was going, what is with this guy? But there was something that he had that was just magnetic. And so I came to him one day and I said, hey, Don, what's with you, man? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, why are you the way you are? And he says, well, I have a relationship with Jesus. And I did the Michael Jackson moonwalk backwards. I mean, it was like, oh, my spirit just went, shoo. I just backed up and went, oh my gosh, well, okay, fine. It was just like, and I kind of walked away from that thinking, what just happened to me? And I thought, Les, why would you react that way to him saying the name Jesus? I mean, what's with you? Is it possible there's something to that name? Sorry. And yeah, come on in, girl. I mean, because I'll add to that, but I mean, that's what happened to me.
So, Don just seemed to appear out of nowhere because we had resourced everybody we knew to try to replace this guy who left our band, because we had all these gigs lined up and that was everybody's livelihood. And so we asked him where he came from, and he started talking about these bands, and then it was like we became aware of this subculture of music that was Christian music. Like, oh,
that we knew nothing about.
Oh, that's a thing. So anyway, like Les said, this guy exhibited something that was attractive, and we wanted to know what it was. And on a long drive from Seattle to Portland, Don and I were in a car together, and we started talking about that. And I said, well, yeah, I was brought up a Christian. And he said, well, anyway, through the conversation, we came to realize that my idea of what being a Christian was and what Don had actually experienced with his relationship with Christ were really two entirely different things. I was thinking it was about a bunch of do's and don'ts and traditions, and Don talked about Jesus as if he was like a personal friend that he could just phone up and say, hey, let's go get coffee. And so I was very curious about that. So I asked him, I said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, look, let me give you something to read. So he gave us
More Than a Carpenter.
He gave us a book called More Than a Carpenter by Josh McDowell. And he said, just read this. He said, this is kind of what convinced me that Jesus is real. And so we took it home, or I took it home, and I read a little, and I'd sit it down, and then I'd noticed that Les picked it up and read a little and set it down. But neither of us talked about it or said anything the whole time we were reading it, but there was something going on inside of us. And so one day,
well, I got to say in that, because I literally was being drawn to the Lord. And then I was wrestling with, I can't do that. I mean, I would not be able to tell Joyce.
Yeah.
What is she going
think?
to think of me becoming a Christian? That's not going to work. I mean, what's going to happen to our life? I mean, I can't imagine. I was frightened to stand up and say that. But
Wow.
Yeah, so he came to me. I was in the kitchen. He walked in and said, "Hey, you've been reading this book. What do you think?" And I said, "I think Jesus was God in the flesh, and knowing that means that we're never going to be the same."
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
But I didn't know what to do after that.
yeah,
So then I went to Don, and we went to Don and said, "Hey, we know that Jesus walked this. Jesus was God in the flesh, and he walked this earth, and he said things, and he did things, and we know that we're supposed to do something about that, but we don't know what we're supposed to do." So he gave us a Bible, and then he said, "Well, go home and."
he gave us a Bible.
Well, later. Okay, I'm sorry.
Less.
Yeah. He, Matthew, Mark, Luke, James.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
Oh,
see.
we read. Yes. So anyway,
How many feedings of the 1,000 were there?
well, what happened?
Okay.
What happened?
Okay. Well, what I think happened was the way I remember was, first of all, he said you need to talk to God. You need to talk to Jesus. You need to give him permission to be the Lord of your life. You need to surrender yourself. Let him take control of your life. Just confess what you've done, pour it all out, ask for his forgiveness, and if he's real, something will happen. And yeah, he did. He gave me a New Testament, but then later Les went and bought a Bible for us. So both
Two
stories
Bibles.
are true. Yeah,
I bought 2 Bibles.
But anyway, that night, I remember it being at night, coming home from the gig after having snorted lines all night, drinking tequila, token on the way home to kind of come down a little bit. We got home and we talked about what we're supposed to, how we felt about Jesus. And the way I remembered it was at night we got down on our knees and we just poured our hearts out. Just confessed everything.
Yeah, we did understand that we were going to go into the bedroom, get on our knees, and ask Jesus into our hearts. We understood that we were going to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you do remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I
so
do.
the 2 of us went in there as one and said to Jesus, "Will you forgive us?
Yeah.
And will you come into our hearts?"
Yeah, I think...
And we cried
Powerful.
like babies.
I think if I recall correctly, both of us were saying, like, we really messed up. We've messed up bad. Can you save us? Can you help us? Because at that time, I feel like our marriage was kind of shaky. There were weird things going on, and we needed help. We were in a downward spiral, and we didn't know how to fix it ourselves. So we cried, we confessed, we poured out, and then both of us, right? We felt this.
Same time. He was in the room.
Yeah.
And we both came to him like little children and just broken.
And we looked at each other.
And we were different.
It was like...
She was beautiful and pure and sweet and awesome and free.
And I looked at him with such a love in my heart and my eyes that I hadn't felt for a long time. And we both felt clean, like little babies, like newborn, like it's all gone. It's okay. We got a do-over.
Yeah, you actually felt the sin being lifted away from us, or at least the forgiveness of sin.
Yeah.
Right.
And just lifted off of us like a huge weight off of us. And we were both little children just rejoicing before the Father. And it was real. It was so real.
That's awesome.
I mean,
and it is to this day.
It was
But,
it was
wow.
real enough that the next night when we went to the clubs, the guys in the band said, "What happened to you?"
And that's what it's supposed to be.
We talked different, we felt different, we acted different.
Yeah, and that's when I went to the Bible bookstore and I bought her a Bible and I bought me a Bible, and those Bibles were on that first Bloodgood tour and they are destroyed.
Yeah.
But I gave her the Bible and I had my Bible, and we were still in the nightclubs. We had just gotten saved, but when we got up in the morning, we would just start reading the Bible, and we would read the Bible all day until it was time to go to work, and then we would go to work.
Took our Bibles with us.
Yes, and then we're reading on the breaks. Instead of doing lines of cocaine, we were doing lines of Galatians and John.
That's
Different
awesome.
lines.
Awesome.
And,
Love it. Yes.
The guys in our band were really confused.
Like, what happened?
They were like, what?
Well, Don knew, of course.
Don knew. Yeah, Don was rejoicing. And not too long after that, Don quit the band.
Because his job was done.
Yeah.
It's like the Lone
Mission
Ranger.
accomplished.
Yeah.
Amen. Woo.
What
Powerful.
you guys said some stuff that I picked up on that I just thought was so beautiful that we really need to reiterate. I call God the triple R God. He's a God of repentance because that's what he wants, so he can work in your life. And once he gets that repentance from you with a true heart, then he loves to reconcile and then restore.
He's done that.
Yes, absolutely. And I've experienced it in my own life. The other thing I picked up on was you could feel the weight come off of you. That is God moving right there. And then I love what Joyce said, especially when said felt so pure. But then the kicker, I looked at him with a whole new look, and Les said the same thing about Joyce. How cool is it? I mean, it's almost amazing and so cool to sit here and go, we're talking to a couple that's been married over 47 years and they got saved together. Same time, same room.
I know. That's amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that is true testimony for sure.
You made my wife
awesome.
cry.
I know.
Oh, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
How do you know I'm crying? You can't see me.
I can hear the
Tears of
sniff.
joy.
You can hear the sniffles.
He knows.
Yeah, I know my wife.
Marital Monkey would like to thank the Sicilian Bank, where the loans are as diverse as their customers. Based in Hardin County, Kentucky, the Sicilian Bank is your hometown connection with a touch of personal class. Large enough to cover all of your banking needs and small enough to know you by name and not by number. The Sicilian Bank, treating you like you are somebody. Give them a call at 270-982-4TCB at their website www.thesicilianbank.com. Thank you to the Sicilian Bank, member FDIC and equal housing lender. NMLS number 409707.
Well, if you've enjoyed Les and Joyce, you are going to be blessed to know they will be back next week to give us even more stories about their marriage, probably a little bit of music background and those types of things. So make sure to tune in next Thursday at 5:30 and we will have them back for more conversation. We'd also love to hear from you. Give us a call, 1-833-8-JUNGLE. That's 833-8-JUNGLE. Leave us a comment on our hotline and we very well might play it on the show. Thank you guys for listening. You guys have a great Thursday and we will talk to you next week with Les and Joyce Carlsen.
Marital Monkey is a ministry of the Bloodwall Ministries. www.thebloodwall.com.